Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be revisiting the Fujifilm X-T200. So a couple of months ago I actually made a video on this already, talking about the overall body and its photo and video capabilities, all of that good stuff. So please go check it out if you haven't seen it yet, and then come back here. Also, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I saw in my analytics that 90% of people watching aren't subscribed to the channel, so please do consider subscribing. It will help me out a ton. But yeah, going back to the X-T200, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into the video aspect of things, specifically for YouTube. So yeah, let's get started and let's, start using the X-T200. We are now shooting with the Fujifilm X-T200. The first thing we're going to be talking about are the settings. Now, the movie menu is actually very simple and there's not much customization that you can do, but I will be walking you through all of the video settings I am currently using for this static shot. Now, for the frame rate, I am at 23.98 frames per second, shooting in 4K. For the ISO, I am at ISO 400, which is the base. And as for the shutter speed, I am at 1/50th of a second. This is also being shot in continuous autofocus with face and eye detection. And lastly, for the film simulation, I am on the ProVia standard film simulation. So yeah, these are actually just my basic settings, even when I'm using my Fujifilm X-S10. The biggest difference is that I turn off the digital gimbal here because sometimes it gets really weird and has this weird warp effect. So I make sure to turn that off. And as for this image, I actually think it's really good. So the X-T200 will work great for talking headshots. But is it any good for vlogging? Fun fact, I actually shot a complete silent vlog using the Fujifilm X-T200 with the Fuji 23mm F2 prime lens, and I was really impressed with the quality of the shots. Everything was shot in 4K as well with the classic chrome film simulation. But here are a few vlogging test shots as well. So this is the vlogging test on the Fujifilm X-T200, currently shooting in 4K, 23.98 frames per second. I have face and eye detection going, and I'm on the classic chrome film simulation, so it looks pretty good. I'm wide open at 3.5 right now, so you should see some sort of bokeh in the background. Looks pretty good. The digital stabilization is also on, so it should get rid of a little bit of the jitter that you can see when I'm walking around. Okay, so this is the vlog test on the Fuji X-T200 using full HD 23.98 as well. Settings are pretty much the same, wide open at 3.5, so there should be some bokeh. I'm at ISO 400, shutter speed is at 1/50th of a second, which is standard. Face and eye detection autofocus, and again, I think it's doing a pretty good job of keeping my face in focus even though I'm moving around. So that was shot with the 15-45 kit lens, which is a lens I've already gushed about in another video. Love that lens. Great wide focal length, great image quality, just a great lens to take with you when you're outside. But for these talking head videos, I like to use a faster prime to get that separation from the background. Let's go ahead and talk about resolutions you can shoot in. So with the X-T200, you can shoot from 720p all the way up to 4K. We'll be comparing 1080p clips and 4K clips because let's face it, who shoots in 720p? Am I right? But honestly, I think the X-T200's biggest flaw is the 1080p quality. Now, it's not the worst, but it's not the best. Like it's just okay. Sometimes you can see that it isn't as sharp, or when the light is bad, it kind of looks like 720p clips. But odds are if you're going to be uploading this on YouTube, people aren't even going to notice, especially if they're viewing this on mobile devices. Now, the 4K clips look really good though. They look so good. Like, I have no complaints. Not to mention that when you're shooting with a Fujifilm camera, they don't crop in when you shoot 4K, so that's just great. But when I do shoot, like for example B-roll, I happen to shoot in higher frame rates like 60p or 120p, which is a mistake I actually made in my first video. I didn't know that the X-T200 could shoot in 120. Turns out it could. All you need to do is turn on high speed recording, and voila, 120p footage. But yeah, honestly, the footage looks okay when you have good light, so keep that in mind. If you want to shoot in higher frame rates in 1080p with the Fujifilm X-T200, you have to make sure that your subject is well lit. So can the X-T200 shoot B-roll? Yes, it most definitely can. So autofocus is a very important part in shooting video, especially when you shoot by yourself. And the autofocus on the X-T200 works fine. So it's not the best in town, but it does work. Like when I'm shooting these talking head videos, I am on continuous autofocus, face and eye detection, so it does a pretty good job of keeping my face in focus, not much hunting in the back, which, believe it or not, is something that most cameras can't do, or just like maybe a number of cameras. And the autofocus, you know, switching from one subject to another works pretty fast as well. It can hunt at times, but the hunting isn't so bad. Overall, the autofocus on this camera is much better compared to my Lumix G85s. One of the most common questions I got in my previous video is if the X-T200 can shoot flat video, so you have a little more flexibility in post. Sadly, it cannot. But as somebody who uses an XS10, which has the ability to shoot an F-log or just like a flat profile, it's not something that I do. You know, Fujifilm has amazing film simulations, so I just pick one and work with that. Sometimes I barely even tweak the overall image. It just looks really good. But one thing I do find shooting with the X-T200 is that the overall image looks a little too contrasty. Like the contrast is just through the roof. So what I do in post is I just kind of reduce the contrast at first and just kind of work off of that. But sometimes even by just reducing the contrast, it actually looks pretty good as well. So yeah, film simulations on the X-T200 are really good as well. My personal favorite being Classic Chrome. Now, in terms of low light performance, the results I got with the 15-45 kit lens weren't so great, and that's because the widest that lens can go is f3.5. Now, I'm not saying that that kit lens is a bad lens. I love the 15-45. It's just that zoom lenses have their weak points and their strong points. But when I used a prime lens, a faster prime, the 23 f2, the results were so much better because it let a ton more light in. So keep that in mind. If you want to use the Fuji X-T200 for nighttime shooting, you might want to pick up a prime lens for better results, because you know the kit lens isn't supposed to be your only lens. It's just the lens to get you started. Another common question I got is, should I get the Canon M50 or the Fujifilm X-T200? Now, I don't really have a Canon APS-C mirrorless on me, nor have I ever tried one, but in my honest opinion, I think you should still get the Fujifilm X-T200 over the Canon M50. And I'm not saying this because Canon's a bad brand for video. You know, I love Canon and I hope to own a Canon full frame one day, but the reason is because the lens choices for Canon APS-C mirrorless isn't all that great. You don't really have much to choose from as opposed to Fujifilm's lineup of lenses. They have so many amazing lenses, both cheap and expensive. Not to mention they only have one mount for all of their lenses other than the GFX line, which is like out of most people's reach. But as for the X series lineup, there's only one mount. So I think the X-T200 is an amazing way to invest in glass, and you know, because if you want to upgrade your camera, you'll still be able to use all of the lenses you got with your X-T200. So overall, I think that the X-T200 is an amazing camera for YouTube and content creation. 4K quality is great, 1080p is okay, I guess. You get high frame rates, autofocus is great, film simulations are also great. This is also an amazing photo camera. We didn't even talk about that in this video, but it really is. The only real problem here, other than the 1080p quality, is overheating. It does tend to overheat, but all you need to do is give it a little break and it will be up and running again. Upon shooting this video, it overheated about once, but yeah, not really a big problem. Turn it off for a little bit and then start shooting again. That's because I'm shooting in 4K, but yeah. That's pretty much that for this video. Hopefully you guys got something from it. Yeah, I think the XT200 is an amazing camera. Subscribe if you haven't already, like if you like this video, and I will see you in the next video.